Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again, as always, with your co-host, Chris Coulson.
Good morning, people. Gang
Chris, we're
members.
all exhausted.
Yeah, we are.
Holy hell, what a year. What a month.
What a night.
What a week.
Yeah, what a week for
We're
sure.
going to discuss last night a little bit. Try to get as many laughs out of the entire situation as we can and offer perspective, particularly for people who are feeling discouraged and or defeated today, which is, well, most of you for one reason or another, frankly. Twitter is not a chipper place to be today. I know that.
Nope. Not a fun hole right there.
It's not. So let's get into it. RBP 346 is brought to you by Away. Away creates thoughtful products built for the way modern travelers see the world. They started with the perfect suitcase. Now they offer a range of essentials, all of which will make your travels more seamless. It's the greatest luggage on earth, people. Been rocking with Away for a couple years now. I love all their stuff. It's incredibly well-designed luggage. The features help me keep everything organized. They've got wheels that don't stick, a laundry bag for dirty clothes, a built-in lock that the TSA won't question. The way it's constructed solves for a lot of the little problems you've learned to live with when you're traveling. It's got a plug, a charger for your phone, stuff like that. It's awesome. They got all kinds of luggage made of all kinds of different materials, variety of colors to pick from, different sizes. If you travel, it's the best. Simply the best. You can start your 100-day trial and shop the entire Away lineup of travel essentials, including their best-selling suitcases, at awaytravel.com/Ross. That's awaytravel.com/Ross. Today, I've got one of their carry-ons. I've got one of the overnight bags. They're phenomenal. awaytravel.com/Ross. Now time for some announcements and shouts. Last episode, we did a birthday shout-out to one Mike Oxmall.
We did.
And I just want to say, that was not on me. That was on Chris. A listener sent him that. He was had, and I'm Ron Burgundy?
I got, gang. And I let myself get got.
And I'm never reading another birthday shout-out that you've inserted again, which is why I'm going to make you read this next one. Read it.
Happy birthday to Ginny on November 11th. Thank you for listening. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I think we're good there.
Voice.
I think we're good on that one. That name seems legitimate. Ginny. It is spelled Ginny, which...
She's specified like Harry Potter. Like it's.
I got to
in Harry
say,
Potter.
one of the things of running a podcast where we do birthday shout-outs, I've become keenly aware of the way people spell their names, and a lot of y'all spell your names fucking wrong.
Well, this is actually a listener's mother. Just so you know.
I'm just saying.
She spells her name wrong?
Guinea?
Okay. Let's be a little respectful to Ginny here. You know, she's what if the name was changed over time? You know, what if she's got the original and we fucked it up? You never know.
Shout out Kanye West for a valiant attempt. He announced last night his run for president in 2024.
Conceded early, Kanye. You know, he really I don't think he was waiting up all night for his victory speech.
I saw several ballots where he was actually listed as vice president.
To who?
Some other guy?
Or he was just vice president?
No, he was running for vice president in some states. Like he wasn't even on the presidential. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous situation. The entire thing was a waste of our time and attention.
I saw that his ballot that he filled out, he not only wrote himself in, but he also did not vote for a single other person on the ballot.
And he had never voted before in his life.
What a time.
Which is, like I said on Twitter, that's an all-time power move to not even have participated in the voting process for POTUS and then have the audacity to run for the position.
Apparently 2 elections in a row now. He's gearing up.
Absolutely bonkers, bruv.
The Kanye train is coming through hot 2024. Be aware.
If you want to watch our show instead of just listen, you can do so on youtube.com/Bolen Media. You can see our faces. We wave to the camera sometimes. Hello. We're in a brand new studio now. Permanent Record moved north slightly. We were on South Congress. Now we're on North Lamar. It's near campus. Exciting stuff.
We have
stoked to be here. But it's a totally
plants
different view on the screen than you used to see. So if you want to see what things look like now, go to youtube.com/Bolen Media and watch this episode. The episodes, when they drop on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, they come out a couple hours later on YouTube. Speaking of wanting to see our faces, you can do that every week, a few times a week. in the evenings on twitch.tv/bossrollin, where Chris and I are live a few times a week thereabouts. Last night, we went live as planned for the election night stream. Broke all of our streaming records thanks to everybody who attended. It was by far the biggest stream we've ever had, and it was very, very, very fun. It was nice to be able to have something silly to participate in, be a part of, instead of having to focus on the stress and anxiety of trying to figure out who the hell the president is. Because at different points last night, there were very different looking outcomes.
Oh, yes.
And then we woke up to a different one this morning, which brings us to our first set. Oh, first, we'll be on twitch.tv/bossrollin again this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central. Twitch.tv/bossrollin. That's Ross Bolen with the B and the R reverse. Now, first segment. Who's winning the match, Pop?
Pa.
So last night, as polls closed around the country, it became evident that what we were looking at was a very, very close election. A very close race. Pretty much the nightmare. This was the nightmare scenario unfolding, the one that both sides, I would say, have been preparing for in some way, shape, or form for the past couple months. Really, the Don, as some call him, President Trump, saw this coming from miles away, clearly, as he's started to put in defense mechanisms for an actual loss a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
Now, he has not lost yet. That being said, it doesn't look like he's going to win. Where we're sitting now at 12:25 p.m. Central Time on a Wednesday afternoon, the day after Election Day. What it does look like is it will be drawn out over the course of several days before we actually get an official announcement on who the president is. It could be perhaps tonight if we're really lucky. It doesn't look like that. I don't think many of us with, I guess, a realistic view of the world went into last night thinking we would get an actual answer on who the president is. I certainly didn't expect to come out of last night with the answer myself. I didn't expect it to go the way it did in terms of how close it was. I don't know a whole lot of people who expected it to go. That's what's so funny about this election. We're so divided. The country is so split. And the left and the right are so far from each other that neither side can understand what they're witnessing right now, which is just kind of hilarious. There were different points in the evening last night where Donald Trump, according to the Las Vegas odds, was heavily favored to win.
Yeah, a line that if you know anything about sports betting, you would see that and think there's no way that he's going to lose. I was shocked.
Minus 800 at one point, which is a heavy. That means you put down $800, and if he wins, you get $100. Because you get your $800 back too, but you win $100.
He's that much of a favorite.
Because he was that heavy of a favorite. Now, there are a lot of different reasons for that. If you want to get into the way Las Vegas works, you have to do your own Google. We could do a whole entire 7-hour podcast on that. But here's what's interesting to me. Just in terms of when you're looking at, let's say, a group of 100 American men, and half of them are Republicans and half of them are Democrats, so there's 50 of each. Way more of the dudes in the 50 Republican side are going to be gamblers.
Okay.
In my general assessment of degeneracy as a whole, from a sports betting standpoint in particular, and like a casino standpoint,
I can see where you're coming from there.
Like nobody loves gambling more than old rich white guys.
So you think they were hammering Trump when he started to gain a little bit of momentum, and then the line swung heavy pendulum
if
style.
Las Vegas ends up in a
Boom.
situation where they have what Vegas wants is even money because they're making their money off the juice.
Exactly.
So when you buy, Donald Trump minus 800 or whatever, like that's where they get their money. That's how they're stacked. That's how they build their odds safely across the board so that it's all profits for them and they don't have to worry about getting destroyed. So if there was heavy money in Vegas on Trump, that swings the way the lines work. Now, do I have a full mathematical understanding of all that? No, absolutely not. Math is not my forte. But I will say this. I understand how counting works because I remember watching Sesame Street as a young boy. And you see, when you're counting things, the more of those things there are, the longer it takes to count.
Wait,
if you dumped a box of blocks onto the ground in front of me when I was a young boy of 6 years old, and there was 8 blocks in that box.
8 blocks in the box.
My God, I could look at that and tell you that's going to take me around 20 seconds to stack those blocks on top of each other. Now, if you dumped out a box that had, say, 20,000 blocks in it.
Sure. A lot of blocks.
Now, Chris, I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. And it's going to take me a hell of a lot longer to count those 20,000 blocks than it did those 8. It's going to take me a lot longer to stack them shits on top of each other. By God, they may fall over a time or two.
You're making good points here. I'm starting to see the argument.
You see, counting takes time.
What?
So as far as who's winning the match, Pop, let me explain something to y'all. We had a massive record amount of voting in many areas of the country this year. A lot of those votes were mail-in ballots. Most of the time, those mail-in ballots were largely Democrats supporting Joe Biden. Now, let me explain why to you. Donald Trump, for months and months and months, has said that the entire election's going to be rigged, the entire thing's fraudulent, don't mail in your ballots, they're rigging the election, make sure you do your voting in person so they can count your votes, so they can't steal the election from us, because the Democrats are going to steal the election with these ballots, these mail-in ballots and the fraudulent ballots and the voting and the counting, and they're trying to count. They won't stop counting. Why won't they stop counting? Well, because there's more votes to be counted, because we did mail-in ballots, because, oh, that's right, there's an international pandemic that has swept the globe, causing millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans to prefer to put their ballots in the mail rather than attend an actual voting place where they could perhaps contract what they see as a very threatening disease to especially the, elderly and those who have been compromised immune system-wise. Now, another point to be taken in there is obviously that Democrats are far more likely at this point to believe that COVID is even a real thing. Because on the right, most of these people don't see it as a threat. They call it a hoax. And I know this because I know a lot of these people. This is not something that at any point I think anybody is arguing, right? The right, the Republicans, the far right in particular, they don't think COVID is real. They definitely don't think we should shut down anything. They think that this entire thing is a hoax in an effort to take the election from Donald Trump. That is no longer a belief in the shadows or like some kind of weird internet conspiracy. That is the majority opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way.
So, of course, the right, when they get to the mail-in ballots, is getting destroyed. And of course, the mail-in ballots take longer to get to because you see they were in the fucking mail. You see.
Also, a lot of states have laws in which you cannot start counting mail-in ballots until the morning of the election.
Oh, is that so?
So if you have
well, hold on, Chris. Are you telling me that legally, by law, in some states, they weren't even allowed to start counting until today?
Weren't even allowed to open the
ballots.
That is
some fucking... You know what? That's interesting because last night I saw the president come on TV, address the nation, and say that they needed to stop counting all the votes, that he didn't want them to be finding boxes at 4 a.m, which is interesting because, frankly, there were boxes that needed to be found.
Yeah, I would agree.
And by found, I mean opened and counted. Because of the ballots inside of them.
Because people...
That came in the mail.
From people that, are just trying to exercise their right as a...
Hey, Chris, you know who's done that every
American.
year since the mail was invented?
Americans?
Members of the military.
Oh, yeah. Those guys.
You know whose vote I'd really like to count?
Members of the military?
Members of the military.
Me too, man.
People who generally put their lives on the line so that my dumb ass can sit here and ramble into this microphone. I think their votes should be counted. It's important to me that people overseas brandishing firearms for the sake of my human American rights or whatever the fuck, or in some cases probably the opposite, I would like their vote to count, one way or the other. Whether what they're doing is right or wrong, they're there, it's their job, and they're serving the country. Therefore, their vote should count. Probably before anybody else's. No one else should count until we've counted the military votes. That would be something that might make some logical sense in terms of an emotional response. What doesn't count or make sense in terms of an emotional response is asking people to stop counting. Count Chocula and Dracula are disgusted. Everybody who's ever worked on fucking Sesame Street, disgusted.
Even the who's the guy that does Between Two Ferns? The guy from The Hangover?
Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah, even him, right now, he's thinking of the math in his mind and stuff like that. Even he is counting. He's disappointed.
You're thinking about him in the movie where he's with Robert De Niro Jr.?
Yes. Robert De Niro Jr.?
Jr.? Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's been a long... It's been a long 2 days. Robert De Niro Jr. That'll be
Downey
like,
Jr.?
Is there a Rob De Niro Jr. that we can be looking forward to seeing in Taxi 2 in like 2043?
Robert Downey Jr. could be Rob De Niro's son, though. They have kind of similar facial features and structures there, and the hair.
Can you do De Niro's like one of the easiest impressions to do. You just squint. I can't do it. Is the reason I'm asking if you can. You squint really hard though, and then you like. You just ask
gotta
everybody
purse
if
your-
they're looking at you.
purse your lips a little bit too. But it's almost like, yeah, no, I don't got it either.
It should be noted, De Niro in Casino is still one of the lamest cucks of a character in the history of cinema.
It's been way too long since I've seen that movie.
What the hell was he doing?
What was he doing?
Too much flossing.
Mm.
Too much Sam Rothstein. Yeah.
No idea what either of those mean.
That's a Jay-Z line. I'm just doing weird pop culture references to try to numb the pain.
Sure. There was lots of pain going around.
Also, last night, Joe Biden addressed the nation. He said, hey, they're counting the votes still. We should probably wait till they're done counting the votes. The votes determine who won the election, not me or the orange guy. Thanks. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm exhausted. And I went, oh, thank fucking God. I'm exhausted, bro. I don't know how your old ass is still awake. Go to bed for fuck's sake, old man. We need you around.
Let me just say,
If you win, you're going to need to be awake.
Biden's party setup was live. Very sick. He had everybody rolled up in cars. They had their own little social distance, like, outdoor drive-in rave.
I just like the music the Democrats picked to, yeah.
They were jamming,
I don't know
dude.
why they, at one point, I could tell this happened. They were cutting over to the head of Biden's campaign, like his campaign manager, or one of the tops of his campaign. And they very clearly made the decision to not cut the EDM music off at the beginning. They were like, look, we got 14 people in the back standing in these white circles that are 10 feet apart from each other. It's not a party. We need to make it look like a party.
And sound
Do
like
not
a party.
turn off that goddamn Skrillex.
Like
we know
2012.
you're about to be on CNN, but like turn it up louder, make it awkward so you have to yell at each other. So they left the music on. So in the background, it's like ding, 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 and the campaign manager's like answering questions about how they're feeling so far. Sarah, yes, we're feeling pretty good so far. And then finally, somebody in the back was like, turn off. It was probably Joe.
Yeah.
He came out of the trailer and was
I'm trying
like,
to get some sleep.
Christ's sake.
Turn off the music.
What the hell is that? No, turn that malarkey off. And
Are you
then,
kiddos still
then the
playing
guy's
that?
voice was awkwardly loud with the music cut off suddenly, and he was like yelling at the reporter, and then they both readjusted. It was very, very professional.
Was this the man that was
the way
also
they readjusted so quickly, I have to say.
double masked up?
Yeah, by the way, it's not a double mask. It's a mask that's like a more plastic, like more hard featured thing underneath. It's like 2 layers, but those are bought in conjunction with one another, I believe. It's not just like he's putting a mask on and going like, you know what, I need another one. Like a double condom situation or something like that.
I was going to say, is it like a reverse psychology ineffectiveness like the double condom? That's what I was concerned about.
I don't know, frankly. But Biden seemed measured, normal, and just generally sane in his little speech. Hey, we should wait till everybody counts. I can generally get on board with that.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Now, here's my biggest problem with all this stuff, right? It's we've become so divided, and the divisiveness is toxic and it's unhealthy, and the whole shit, like the whole damn system with all the gerrymandering and the damn electoral colleges and Maine. What the fuck, Maine? Who the fuck knew that Maine had like 3 different divisions? I think you can get 3 different electoral college votes out of Maine, but they're split into like 3 different areas, like M1, M2, and like M7 or something. They skipped 5 numbers to make it more confusing. 4 numbers. I can't do math. Again, not my strong suit, not my problem. I'm not in charge of counting. Somebody else is. That's why I didn't sign up to be in charge of counting. I didn't want to be Count Chocula. I can count to about 14 without a calculator.
I thought you made it to 20 blocks.
Calculator. 8 blocks.
8 blocks. Oh,
8 blocks.
Gotcha.
8 blocks. But the Electoral College is insane. This is insane. How can this be how we operate? We were talking about it off mic before the show. Let's just do away with this whole fucking thing. Just count the votes, and whoever has the most votes wins the thing. I get that it served a purpose. I get that there was a whole logical explanation for why they did the Electoral College to make sure that everybody was well represented across the entire nation, blah, blah, blah. I get that it's more than just the presidency. I understand that. But we have got to find a more common sense. Most Americans, I'm serious, I'm confident that like 98% of the country walking the fucking face of this country do not even understand how the Electoral College works. You know how I know they don't? Because I don't fucking understand how it works. I don't understand how it works. I'm not confident that more than like maybe 3 people I know, and I've got them in my head, and one of them is my dad. Okay, 3 people, maybe, that I'm confident could sit down and explain the Electoral College to me, and I would walk away not more confused than I was when I sat down. When they're explaining it on the news, on any channel, by the way. Last night's stream, I had CNN on my left, Fox News on my right, It was hysterical because neither of them were on the same page the entire night.
Nope.
BBC World News was on a totally different page than them, and they'd cut away to like go deal with real shit in Africa every once in a while. Then you had the Associated Press, who was reporting like way in advance of both Fox and CNN's adjustments, and I was just like, what is it?
Yeah, I don't understand how the AP was so far ahead in results. It didn't make any sense to me. How are they getting so much so quickly? They're just in there.
And then too many numbers. Why the shit? If I'm looking at a screen on an election night in the United States, what should be the goal there? For me as a consumer to be able to look at the screen and know who's winning.
And understand.
And have a vague sense of how that number for who's winning got there. You know what would be the simplest version of that? All right, bear with me here. No, I'm not going to do the blocks analogy again. Sure. Take it to anywhere childish. I'll just be normal and speak frankly and plainly. Counting the votes and then having that determine the election would be the most normal, commonsensical version possible, wouldn't it?
Imagine if election night was literally just a screen, no reporters.
2 numbers.
That just had, two sets of numbers.
Okay,
2 sets
perfect
of numbers.
world, more like 4 numbers, because voting for just one or the other sucks. This sucks. I'm sick of doing it.
Okay, you know what I mean.
I'm so sick of every vote I cast yesterday was either a, like, fuck me as I was doing it because I was miserable, or I said, fuck you, and the fuck you was to the person I was voting against. Like, most of the people I had to vote for, I wasn't stoked to vote for. I'm just stoked to vote against the other guy who clearly was a cock.
Ross goes in, he's like, they hear him like
I went,
they're at the front desk, and they just all of a sudden
fuck
hear,
me,
fuck you,
fuck you, fuck me, fuck you, fuck you, fuck me. It was awful. It was awful. I got in like one libertarian, maybe. There were so many goddamn selections on our particular ballot where you didn't even have 2 options. It was just one. A Democrat. That was it. You had 1 person to vote for on the ballot. Crazy. Cuckoo. Bonkers system. Needs some type of adjustment. Just a little bitty one. And I get that it's been run this way forever. The country was built this way. But part of the problem with our country is that it takes forever to change anything. Because the system is built that way, so that it takes forever to adjust. Because you know who benefits when it takes longer to adjust?
The system.
The system. The people at the top of it. Christ, mate. Watching the British talk about our shit is funny as hell, though. I highly recommend. BBC is the greatest thing ever.
No, I love BBC.
BBC 1, BBC 2, BBC 3. And now I have to do that every time we talk about it, because Austin
Is that what they
Powers,
do for their intro? Oh.
Man, speaking of divisive, Austin Powers as a movie has split people.
Has it?
You either hate it or you love it. There's no in between.
Sure.
Nobody's like, I'm cool with Austin Powers. They're like, fuck, that guy's annoying. Girlfriend told me she doesn't like Mike Myers in general.
Growing up, I never really was a huge Austin Powers guy. Seen the movies a couple times.
I'm not a huge Mike Myers guy. She thought this was going to hurt my feelings. Like, I think she just thinks any white comedian at this point that I have, like, reverence for, and that's very much not the case. I'm just kidding. I know she doesn't think. But, like, you know, Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, she thinks he fit in there. Chris Farley, like, he fit in there with those guys. But Mike Myers didn't fit in there with those guys necessarily for me. Also, I have an insane amount of respect for Mike Myers. He's not one of my, like, 3 guys.
Sure.
I believe he's Canadian, by the way. Shouts to Canada. But he's a legend. Also incredible in Inglourious Bastards randomly. Very small role. Moving on.
What is he in Inglourious Bastards?
He was a Brit. At one point, the British come in. You know, they plan that whole thing below in the bar or whatever that
totally
goes.
Forgot he was in that.
Coles, it doesn't go well.
No, it
there.
doesn't go well at all. Is he
Does
the one
not
that
go
holds
well.
up the instead of the he does the he does the wrong 3, right?
Do they all do that?
They do.
The thing that comes
Germans do 3s like this.
Is this a white supremacist symbol?
That's another thing
Damn
that I'm
it.
concerned about.
See, I fucking think it is too.
Now I think it is. I think they knew.
That
like,
is
at
horseshit.
first,
You can't. What's the opposite of the white supremacist symbol I just threw up? I'd like to.
West Side.
I went to West Side High School. I got this right for life, son.
True.
But seriously, I do think that the white supremacists are trying to take away the put the circle below your waist and punch each other game, and that's horseshit. Just like the pedos tried to take the robe. What else has tried to be? They tried to take something else.
Does that mean next year we're gonna have to do the OK symbol?
No, that's,
okay, good.
That's boring.
Okay. My favorite part of election coverage last night was the first hour in which they kept going from state to
What's
state
your
saying.
favorite part? I was about to fucking shit my pants.
Yeah, it was great. They were like, "Yeah, we actually don't have any information for this state. Let's go check on the next state. Oh, okay. We also have no information on this state. Let's check on the next state.
Dude,
oh, wow,
dude,
we
but
coincidentally
seriously,
have no information on this state."
So let me ask you a question. What part of... Okay, I obviously I get that you're making fun of the fact that for the first hour, just nonstop, they're like, and not enough information to report. Like that South Park episode that broke down the Obama original election against Mitt Romney, I believe it was fucking hysterical because it summarized that so well. But let me ask you, why do you think they do that?
I guess just to get ahead of the game.
It was for the numbers, for the viewership numbers,
Yeah,
for the ratings, right? So it's for the advertising money. But the part of it that they found that makes it entertaining to me, why I can sit there and watch it, is these screens,
Dude,
bro.
the touch screens are incredible.
It's Minority Report, like the whole night up there. They're like, all right, let's see if we took fucking this county and fucking grabbed that county and threw it over into Idaho. What if this county was in Idaho? What if we moved Montana to the other side of Alaska? And I'm like, God, this is fucking fascinating.
They get so into it too. Like the one guy on CNN, he was like, "This is one of my favorite county. If you look at this county right here, Galanaga, it's one of my favorite. Every year on
we're gonna put this
every
little
night on
county right
election
down
night,
here in this
whoo,
corner.
I'm getting tingles just
And
thinking
if you
about this
tell
county."
anyone about this county, I will find you and I will cut you.
And he's just like zooming in. And he's like, "This one, only 20,000 people live here, but it's gotten the election right every year except for one in which a duck flew over the cuckoo's nest that year."
It's always some random. Now we're gonna take a look at this county in let's pick a random state that nobody even ever thinks about or
Literally
remembers
like
exists.
Idaho?
Maine again. Let's go. Now we're gonna look at a county in Maine that has successfully predicted the outcome of the election every year since 1892. And we're like, what the fuck? And then that county ends up not doing it. Or like 10 minutes. It's like, why don't we just focus on that county the whole time then, guys?
And then, exactly. And then they're like, "We'll come check back in on this later." And then like 6 hours later, they've made no mention of
or
that
county flips or something. It's just,
it's like, "Oh, well, we were wrong here."
I just don't know what to make of it all.
But I could watch them play with the touchscreens literally for hours and hours and hours, which I did last night, actually.
I remember like year one that they were like, we got to do something to make this first hour more interesting. People are fucking falling asleep on their couches left and right. They were like, what if we got mad touchscreens? Like touchscreen technology had just become this very readily accessible thing for all Americans in the form of their cell phones, right? Surely we've got the technology. We have the technology. So they went for it, and year one was a fucking disaster. Guys were touchscreening the wrong damn county. Every other pick was like, dude, I'm dead serious. It was so ridiculous.
Really? Well, also
they were like, they'd be like, John, we're getting another, John, fuck, wrong county. John, we're looking now into, John, damn it, okay, I'm in Alaska. And then they'd just like cut to another guy. The screen would go black, like sparks were flying everywhere. They couldn't figure out the touchscreens.
And the old touchscreens, too, they're like so laggy and glitchy. They would try to like press in a county. It would take 20 years just for something to happen. And then it would go to a request from 10 minutes ago.
That was the awkwardness, watching them continue to talk and try not to lose beat while they're trying to press it over and over, because it's not responding. That was hell. I'm glad we're not there anymore. We've made it a long way in terms of the touchscreens, not the voting process. RBP 346 is also brought to you by Blue Chew. You have a hard time taking pills? You are not alone. Get the only sildenafil tadalafil chewables by visiting BlueChew.com. See how I crush those science words? It's because I'm a genius. If you like sex, you'll love BlueChew.com. #sex. Every guy has performance issues at some point in their life. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's a stigma that is stupid and denying so many men a happy sex life. So boom, BlueChew.com. Make sure you're confident and able to perform at another level every time it's time to visit Pound Town. No matter what stage of life or relationship you're in, the chewables at BlueChew.com make something that's already good sex even freaking better. BlueChew.com, the first ever chewable that brings your performance in the bedroom to another level. They got the same active ingredients that are in Viagra and Cialis. Plus, you don't need to go to the doctor's office or spend time in the waiting room at the pharmacy or in the pharmacy line. Blue Chew's online physician consult is free, and once approved, your order ships straight to your door in discreet packaging. A lot of people take performance enhancements for other areas of their life, like health or looks or working out, fitness, whatever. Why wouldn't you want to do the same for the bedroom? Makes no sense. BlueChew.com, phenomenal offer for all the boys and men of the RBP gang. Visit BlueChew.com today and get your first order free when you use the code RBP when you check out. That's just $5 you pay in shipping.
That rhymed.
The rest of your order is free. First order, BLUE Chew.com. Promo code RBP. Hard dicks all 2020.
I'm seeing a headline right now that reads,
it's contractual. It's not. I made that up just now.
A North Dakota state legislator candidate who died from COVID appears to have won his election. So shouts to him,
Yeah, we may
living up from the grave
have a dead guy in office.
in North Dakota. He's
Which
really
is
making
interesting.
Making the big decisions up there.
They should have to legally dig his ass up and sit him in the seat for being that stupid of a state.
Well, I mean,
You elected a dead guy?
there's loopholes around it. It's kind of smart from the Republican Party's standpoint if you look at it, but it is kind of fucking hilarious that there's
y'all
a dead
doing?
guy that's currently on the state legislator board,
You see, he's
Or-
dead.
state, whatever it
He
is.
can't govern.
That would be accurate. Well, unless he can govern from the heavens, which
Only one man can govern from the heavens, Chris, and his name is Jesus Christ.
was he on the ballot too? What state was that?
You had to write him in. Next segment. Wait, what is the next segment? Oh, here it is. Come together. Right now. Over me.
Wow,
As a country,
that was riveting.
now that we're here, now that we're seeing probably how things are going to go, maybe, we hope, I don't know. Regardless, either way, frankly, for the love of God, can we take this opportunity to find our way back toward each other? Yeah. Back, retether the fucking whatever. Something. And I don't mean everybody, but we've let politics take over and bleed into everything in our lives, and it's truly insane. And obviously, that feels heavier than it ever has in the midst of an election that is, as expected, chaotic.
Midst of the election, in the midst of a recession, in the midst of a pandemic.
All those things. I'm not even sure if we're technically in a recession
I guess
anymore.
not. Okay.
But look, the toxicity on both sides is completely ruining everything about America. And if you're on the far right or the far left and you don't think there is toxicity, you are not looking around and taking a realistic look at what's going on. I mean, there are very, I will say, matching vibes that come from the far of both sides. They're completely different views, but they're similar, and the failure on both parts is to the inability not to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. The failure of perspective, right? I was talking to a friend of mine who's having issues with his family issues, familial issues as a result of the politics of this election.
Sure. I'm sure a lot of people are right now.
As many are. And I was trying to explain to this friend why I don't hold it against people like his parents right now. And why, in many cases, I don't hold it against. Now, it's circumstantial in every case, how I judge people based on their political views or their lack thereof.
Sure.
And in many cases, though, what I'm seeing is people who are just ignorant when it comes to the social issues in particular. And what we saw last night is that a lot of Americans don't give a fuck about social issues.
Yeah.
In particular.
well-
And you know who tends to not give a shit about social issues? Americans who aren't affected by them.
That's very true.
Again, that's a lack of perspective. That's a lack of an ability to put yourself in another American's shoes and see why they care about a thing, right?
I think
if you're on the far, for people that are like hardcore Donald Trump fans who absolutely cannot even find their way to understanding any of the Black Lives Matter stuff or any of the protesting or the rioting this year, if you can't bring yourself to see anything about that as sensical, then you're missing something, right?
I would agree.
Like, then you're missing something,
And
right?
I think that's where the issue arises on the difficulty of coming back together with such a stark contrast in beliefs, basically, is because when the issues are about politics, it's one thing, but when the issues are about what a lot of people consider to be genuine human rights, that's another thing.
Yeah, and from the other side, you've got this many people who aren't getting it, this many people who aren't seeing it still. Clearly the message is being muddled somewhere along the way then, right? The disconnect is so massive. The Democratic Party is still being run in such a way that there are so many basic surface level errors made on a regular daily basis that I don't even get. Like, the fact that one of the things I've brought up many times over the past few weeks, how they ran Joe Biden out there for those debates without answers to questions they knew Donald Trump was going to ask, that they knew he was going to hammer, that they couldn't bring arguments, rebuttals to stupid shit that was going to be there and that we needed to hear from, answers to. Like, I have one question, Joe. Who built the cages? Look, there's a very complicated answer to that. But no answer is not an answer.
Not a good answer at all.
And then you immediately let the other side take that narrative and do whatever they want with it, literally. And regardless, another thing to keep in mind here as a country, and this is so important, nobody wins right here in terms of us, the people.
Correct.
We don't win shit right here, son. This isn't like, this is where it's like almost this fight starts. One way or the other, regardless of which side you're on. Like, we get through this shit, we get somebody in office, and then we got to find a way. Like, isn't that the whole point? This is the thing about toxic relationships. It becomes impossible to see that you're on the same team.
Yeah, exactly.
Same team.
The goal
and if we
should
can't
be-
come together and be on the same team,
What's the point?
What are
Genuinely,
we
what is
doing?
the point? What exactly?
if we're not going to try, like if you're not making the effort to understand the people who you are so far from, if that's not your next move after this, then what the fuck? Like, that's the only solution, is to better understand each other. That's how things like this become fixed. It's not going to be some light bulb that goes off in all these people's heads. However many millions of Americans voted for Donald Trump, if you genuinely believe that every single one of those people is a racist, well, then you probably don't have much to fight for. But I choose not to believe that because I don't see the logic in it. Because I see too many examples of people that I know to be not racist, that it's simply about something else to them. Because race isn't an issue in their life. Because they don't give a shit about other people, frankly. A lot of it is selfishness. It's about focus on themselves, their families, their companies, the people that they know, the 12 humans they interact with, and they don't give a single thought to another one of the billions of people walking the face of the earth. That's problematic. Like, if you have no perspective for others.
So what's the solution there in attempting to bridge that gap with something like empathy?
It's like a human relationship thing. That's what's so strange
That's
about
what I'm
it.
saying.
Is
Like,
that
that's empathy. That's literally
it
just
really is.
showing somebody empathy.
And that's
if
what
somebody-
Killer Mike told us and LP told us we got robbed of. That was the saddest part of what happened with George Floyd. We got robbed of our empathy. That we don't have that anymore as a country. And it's fucking weird to not have empathy for your fellow man. Especially, like, so many of y'all put so much vitriol in other places, on China, like in Mexico, across the borders. It's like, bro, you put all that vitriol in all these other places. You're also putting it on your fellow American, though. Like on the what you call libs and shit like that. It's just like, what are we doing? Just like, enough with the stupid attacking and the toxicity. Like, that shit is wildly unhealthy. And the only way toxic relationship ends is in a split or a divorce. That's how they end. That's how toxic relationships end. And if we have a toxic relationship, maybe it's time to get some other fucking people in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Let Joe in. Get some fucking libertarian. Get another party. Somebody spin up another party. Speaking of parties, Chris, it's time to talk about something. Well, actually, I have a spiel.
Give me
Can I
your
say
spiel.
my spiel.
Yeah, of course.
If you have lost friends or family to this shit over the past several weeks, you've got to measure it. Every case is different. Give it a few more days, maybe, if tensions are still super high. Wait till this thing finally has been called. Then reach out and try to mend that relationship. Like, I would say in general, friends and family are not worth losing over this political shitstorm. Like, that being said, I understand it's entirely possible this political shitstorm has put you or your friends in a position where you no longer fundamentally agree on some very basic moral boundaries, in which case it may be just better that you're not friends anymore. Anyway, family, that shit is a lot harder. But all I can say is living by example is the best way to reach people.
Completely agree.
So come together. Come right now. Over me. Next segment.
Wow.
What drugs are legal where?
Drugs.
So a lot of drugs were on the ballots last night, Christopher.
Yeah, sadly, none in
and on
Texas,
Election Day in
where we are.
America. many of you who voted early as well, you would notice that these same issues were on those very same early ballots. It's crazy. They're still counting those votes, by the way. None in Texas, unfortunately, where I live.
Where are drugs? What the hell?
We will continue to have no drugs on our ballots for some time, it seems. It's very unfortunate, especially when you see the news that Arizona, New Jersey, Montana, and South frickin' Dakota voted to legalize recreational marijuana for people over 21 years old. I repeat, Arizona, New Jersey, Montana, and South Dakota. Now, when I think of generally forward, progressive states, none of those typically pop into my mind. Now, Texas isn't either. Typically one of the most progressive states. Still a red state, by the way. People thought there was a really good opportunity for Texas to flip blue this year. Didn't happen.
There was an opportunity.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
But no drugs for us. No pot. We can't have marijuana. How the fuck how does Montana get this shit before Texas?
I mean, to be fair, what else are you going to do in Montana? Or, like, what better places in the country to get high than Montana or South Dakota?
I would argue that here's the thing. The views in Montana, pristine.
That's what I'm saying.
You get high, beautiful landscapes, you're
amazing.
Set. But the views in some of the areas of Texas, so ass that you need to be more high to get through life because you got nothing going.
Wow.
View-wise.
Wow, harsh on
nothing
Texas.
going. No, we just have, the state takes up like half the country. We've got areas of the state that are very beautiful outside, like Austin.
Check yourself. You're not
It's like
that
a third
big.
of the country.
You're not that big.
And then we've got areas that are very, very urban, like the dead-ass center of Houston, where you have to go like 60 miles to find a tree in some cases. Now, I know Houston's done better with this. Houstonians, I'm just fucking around. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. But in Texas, there's lots of different landscapes. It's never snowed ever in Houston. It snows up north in the Panhandle and shit all the time. It's probably snowing right now for all I care. But the point is this, we got no fucking drugs.
Yeah, that's the main takeaway there.
We got no drugs. Oregon decriminalized heroin, cocaine, and meth. We just decriminalized weed earlier this year here to where I could like get caught with a joint and they just like, I think they just tase you and kick you once in your hippie ass and you're sent on your way.
And beyond that, they fully legalized psilocybin, shrooms.
Which
is for medical use currently, but they're legal nonetheless. So not
the opposite of fully.
not recreationally legal, but they've fully medically legalized.
Which is very interesting, which means that now we'll start to get more and more studies about things that Joe Rogan talks about every week.
Psilocybin. Yeah, using that medically.
That's so fucking huge for y'all.
No, okay,
podcast listeners in general.
Do not run with this and make it sound like it's some like conspiracy thing about the healing properties of psilocybin. There's lots of research
I'm not trying
out there.
to make it sound like that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is podcast listeners fucking love talking about psilocybin, LSD, mescaline, DMT, and it's because Joe Rogan, one of the most popular podcasters in the world, is obsessed with that shit.
Okay. Yes,
it's very heavily debated in these circles.
Okay.
I've had multiple people on our show who wouldn't shut the fuck up about how I have to go into the jungle and take ayahuasca at some point.
So it
just gets weird.
Do you think there's maybe because you have to go into the jungle and try ayahuasca sometime?
I could say things right now in response to that would be hurtful to former guests that I'm going to choose not to say.
Sure.
I'll surmise it by saying there is no living, breathing human who I look at and go, I must take all of their advice. And if you believe that about any one living, breathing human, you're in a cult. And Keith Raniere is probably going to try to have sex with you in the very near future. From his prison bed. Via hologram.
Digital influencer stuff?
Anyway, so you can do drugs in a bunch of different states now. Congratulations to North Jersey, not the rest of the state, just North Jersey, also Montana and South Dakota and Arizona, which is now a blue state where you can smoke pot. Arizona might have just become the coolest state in the whole country, frankly.
Yeah, it's basically just a hippie state where you can go look at UFOs, smoke pot.
Play a shit ton of golf.
Yeah. Maybe we should relocate.
A lot of beautiful women in Arizona.
Arizona State, great school.
Is Arizona in the South? I thought we only did pretty girls in the South.
Well, I mean,
according to Borat.
It's southern, down there.
This is big shit, though, in terms of the drug stuff, for real, especially in the realm of the studies that Chris was speaking to. There are a lot of mental health things that can be very, very effectively treated with some of these hallucinogens in particular It's very interesting to see that stuff finally being given a serious look, especially considering we're in a country where you can purchase a pack of little cancer sticks that will legitimately kill you over time. Seems you should have the right to probably purchase something that might be able to cure your, I don't know, depression or crippling mental health issue.
And that grows naturally out of the ground.
It makes general sense to me.
The
I don't know.
earth?
I don't know if all this stuff grows out of the ground. I don't know enough about all that. I'm just putting that out there.
Psilocybin grows out of the ground. Well, not all. Like, psilocybin is extracted from mushrooms that grow
out of the
naturally
ground.
out of the ground. Yes.
Yeah.
LSD does not grow out of the ground.
But just to be clear, I will not eat anything that comes out of the ground just because it comes out of the ground.
I would say that's probably a smart way to go about your life.
Keep that broccoli. That's for you. I get vegetables through Ritual, our daily vitamin sponsor.
That's it. You're just like Matrix style taking your pills for meals now.
Brat!
Everything's in pill style.
Yo, when
just
that
for
day
nutrients.
comes, your boy's the first one in line. Same with the Tesla Model 3. I'm going to enjoy my food, but I want to taste it. I want to enjoy. Just give me the goddamn pill. Give me the thing that gets the nutrients into my body as fast as possible so I can get back to doing shit. Now, I'll eat one meal a day at about 1:30 in the morning when I'm high in bed. That's when I'll put normal, regular food into me when I've got the munchies. The rest of the day, just give me the horse pill, man.
Last night was a Hall of Fame 1 a.m. snack for you, Ross.
I had a foot-long chili cheese coney from Sonic
Mm-hmm.
with barbecue chips,
Mm-hmm.
a large bowl of Rocky Road ice cream, and a big-ass Sleepy Time tea. And if you're going, man, what did your bathroom sound like this morning? It sounded like every channel on the TV combined.
It sounded like World War I.
That's what it sounded like in there. Before you head out to take on the world, it's time for some very important announcements. First and foremost, you've been saddled with 3 legal obligations as a result of having listened to this entire podcast today. Number 1, you must rate and review this show. 5 stars, 2 or 3 sentences about why you like it. Boom, you're done. Check that box and move on to number 2, which is to share the show with one person, a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, any one individual that you think might enjoy the Ross Bolen Podcast. Share the show with them this week. One person this week, one person next week, one person every week until the week you die. Number 3, we have sponsors that keep us in business. Sponsors that keep the lights on, the cameras rolling, the microphones recording. Today, there's 2 of them. Away Luggage. Go to away.com/RBP. Also, Blue Chew. BlueChew.com. Go with RBP. Shouts to everybody who's here from the stream and actually understands why I do a Russian accent when I do that read sometimes. Those are your 3 legal obligations. Complete them all. I'll call off the dogs. We won't have to see each other in court. I won't have to pay all these outrageous lawyer fees, and we can all live long and prosper. Follow us on social media. We are on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, where every day we fill up our story with photos and videos sent in by our listenership, affectionately known as the RBP Gang. Chris and I collect those photos and videos from you through Snapchat. You'll hear our Snapchats shortly. Keep those snaps coming. We'll keep throwing up the best ones every day on Instagram. We're also on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod. And we are on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. You can find me, Ross Bolen, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, all under the same individual name, at WR Bolen on all 3, at WRBOLEN. Keep the Snapchats coming. Dogs, stupid license plates, cart chaos, cool shoes, cool scenery and nature, activities and such, whatever you got going on, snap it to us. Chris and I will throw them up on the Instagram. Also, as I mentioned, twitch.tv/BossRollin. Next stream is tomorrow night, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Be there or be square. We will announce the upcoming stream schedule for next week at some point this weekend via social media, which is why it's so important you follow us via social media. We always drop new episodes on social media. We do cool marketing, funny content, and also announce our Twitch schedule as well. Chris, where can everybody follow you on the social mediums?
You can find me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. You can find me on Twitter at Q0ULS and on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
Somebody hit me up yesterday and said you have the most QAnon
Name?
Twitter name of any non-Q person.
Coles.
You could
Yeah.
probably sell it to some Q guy.
I probably could. Maybe that's why the Coles on Instagram hasn't sold it to me, because
He's waiting on another bidder.
Yeah, he
a
knows.
Q guy.
Exactly. He knows how expensive that domain is going to be.
Yeah, probably.
Damn. Sad.
Very
Maybe
unfair.
I'll get it one day.
Very unfair. Check
keep
out Bolen
trying.
Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever RBP is available. If you love TV and movies, you'll love OCC. We're making big changes to the show moving into 2021 to make it more accessible so you don't have to watch 9 hours of TV and movies every week to keep up. We'll be doing more general TV, film, entertainment, pop culture talk, going into 2021 on oysters, clams, and cockles, formerly the #1 Game of Thrones podcast in the world. Now we're going to be focused on a wider variety of things so that basically the point came where we were like, yo, if anybody can't listen any week, what's the point of the podcast? And we're going to make some big changes to how we do things on OCC as a result so that more people can enjoy the show and it's not so demanding, not just for the listenership, but also for Barrett and I. Mr. Barrett Dudley, one of my best friends of 17 years, and I host Oysters, Clams, and Cockles every week. We're actually about to record immediately after this and discuss a lot of the vow this week, as well as some other things. But OCC, also a huge announcement probably coming in the next week or two regarding OCC next year, that you'll have to listen to that show to hear. So Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever you listen to RBP. And that will do it for RBP 346, produced by Myrriah, Gossett, and Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. We will be back on Monday with RBP 347. But, of course, first this Friday on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast with another exclusive premium, ad-free episode for dues-paying members of the RBP gang that pledge their monthly support to keep the podcast showing and growing. It's a minimum of just $5 monthly on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more RBP. You are not alone. Podmen get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Chris?
Peace be with you. And also with you.